Good afternoon. I'm Dan Winslow. I'm proud to be a Republican candidate for the United States Senate. And I want to start off by saying thank you to both Gabriel Gomez as well as to Mike Sullivan for their public service. Any one of us is better than either one of the choices that will be offered up to us by the Democratic Party in June. So I want to hats off. It's great for me to be here with Republican activists. I've spent time in the trenches with you. We fought shoulder to shoulder with other elections. We've had some wins. We've had our share of losses in town committees and ward committees. But I want to thank you all for coming out here today. The choice in this election is between what the Democrats are offering us, fear and finger pointing, or what we have to offer, which is solutions and success. Last Wednesday, I was so proud to know that Rand Paul was standing on the floor of the United States Senate, filibustering, by the way, the old-fashioned way, which is what I believe in. Stand up for what you believe in, make your argument, take the shots, don't dial it in and mail it in. I was proud to be a Republican when I saw Senator Rand Paul stand up on the floor of the Senate. And at the time he was standing in the floor of the Senate, at that time, I issued a statement saying that if I were in the Senate right now, I would stand with Rand Paul. And you know, the next day, the DOJ holder finally relented and actually answered the question about the use of drones against United States citizens on United States soil, and we owe that to a Republican who had the guts to stand up. So this is the sequester, day 8. Ooh. We cut less than 3% of the rate of increase of federal spending in the sequester. Less than 3%. And it's scary, according to the Democrats. And they use scare tactics to try to scare the American people into why cutting the budget, reducing the growth of the budget is bad. And so instead, for example, there was a Democratic congressman who said, well, if the sequester goes through, it's going to lose 170 million jobs. And then somebody pointed out we only have 140 million jobs in America. Well, that wasn't good enough. And then the Secretary of Education said, well, we're actually already laying off teachers. Until the Washington Post showed that it was a poor Pinocchio award. It wasn't even true. And then the president himself, the scare tactic in chief himself, got into the act, and he said, well, if the sequester goes through, all of the janitors in the U.S. Capitol building would have to be laid off. And just hours later, the head of the agency in charge of the janitors said that wasn't so, nobody was getting laid off. And so what did they do? They doubled down with scare tactics. And so what they did is they said, just now, just in the cusp of spring break, and all the school children going with their families to Washington, D.C. to visit our nation's capital, what did they do to double down on the scare tactics? They shut down the White House tours. They closed the door to the people's house. That's what they did to show how tight times were. And all these little kids and their families standing outside the people's house, and they couldn't get in because there was simply no money for White House tours. Now, ABC News said that White House tours cost about $18,000 a week. There's no money for White House tours. Let's look at that. The White House employs 3 calligraphers for a cost every year of $277,000. No money for White House tours. The EPA just funded $141,000 to fund a Chinese study on swine manure. No money for White House tours. The Obama administration funded last year 894 conferences at a cost of over $100,000 apiece. You can just think junkets. For a cost of $340 million, there's no money to open the White House. $27 million for pilot classes in Morocco. No money for White House tours. The Department of Agriculture sponsored wine country tours in Nancy Pelosi country, California. No money for White House tours. And my favorite, $325,000 National Science Foundation to build a robotic squirrel. Talk about nice. No money for White House They took a video, and it's gone viral on the internet. The White House is the people's house. Let us in. That's fantastic. They're going to be huge Republicans, by the way. So I submit that the American people are too smart to fall for these false scare tactics. And it's our duty here in Massachusetts, with this election, we have the opportunity to send an alternative, a Republican, to be able to voice the people's view, to stand up for the people's seat, to say that common sense will prevail, that the priorities of the American public are for our benefit, for our country, and that way we will cut federal spending without hurting core functions of government. I'm a Republican because I believe in limited, effective government. If you think of a pyramid, our core philosophy, the individual is at the top of the pyramid and the community is subordinate to the individual. So that what's good for you is good for us. Democratic philosophy is just the opposite. It's an inverse pyramid. The community is at the top and the individual is subordinate to the community. Their view is that what's good for us is good for you. Now, the truth is probably in the middle somewhere, but the fact of the matter is that that's not a debate we have in Massachusetts because of one party monopoly. We can change that. And Gabriel will tell you this, and Michael will tell you this. There is a sense of energy out there. We can win this seat. We can win this seat this time in June. Now, the Democrats in Massachusetts have that kind of monopoly, and so we're seeing this play out on a smaller scale here in Massachusetts. Governor Patrick has proposed $2 billion of tax increases in Massachusetts. Not a peep, by the way, from Markey or Lynch about that. For the record, we cut the fluff before we raise taxes on anybody. We do not raise taxes in a recession, and I believe in that so firmly that I actually delivered the case of fluff to the governor's budget chief with a list of my top 10 ideas for what we could do to either cut costs or increase non-tax revenue, because we can do it in Massachusetts. We've done it before. And I know that we can do it in the federal budget. I was born the oldest of 4 boys in western Massachusetts, the only candidate, by the way, in this race of either party who actually has roots outside of 128 in Massachusetts. My dad, when I was a little kid, worked as an antenna repairman. My mom was a registered nurse for almost 50 years. My mom was a first-generation Italian-American. She believed, as I believe, that the path to the American dream is education. That the great equalizer in American society is education. So my dad started a small company, and if you've ever launched a small company, you know that money flows toward the company, not away from the company when you start a small business. And so that was happening just as my brothers and I were getting ready for college. So my mom worked 3 jobs to help put 4 boys through college. Proud to say that I was in private practice in law for almost 20 years. The 2 brothers were cardiologists, and the brother was an MBA in finance, and would prove that education truly is the path to the American dream. The GOP is the great opportunity party. That GOP stands for growth, opportunity, and prosperity, and that's what we stand for, and that's what we can bring. I worked my whole life. When I was in high school, I worked as a house painter. My boss was this German fellow. He said, "Dan, always remember the forgets." I said, "Remember the forgets? What are you talking about?" He said, "Get in, get fast, get good, get lost." You know, it's good advice for politics as it is for pain, and because of that, I've worked at every level, at every branch of state government in Massachusetts, and one of the few people to do it. As a judge for almost 8 years, as the governor's chief legal counsel during the last fiscal crisis where we had a $3 billion deficit and turned it into a surplus. And now as the state legislator who's holding the seat who's once held by Scott Brown in the House. I have extensive experience in problem solving. I have extensive experience in getting things done in government. And that's the kind of thing that we need down in Washington right now. I'm Dan Winslow. You can go to my website, danwinslow.com. And I look forward to having a spirited debate, and I promise, Gabriel, it's not going to be dirty, not on our side, maybe their side. There'll be enough dirtiness from those guys, but the GOP work, I'm going to tell you right now, this is a pledge. And I know that Gabriel and Michael fill this in. On May 1, we triple the operation in Massachusetts, we triple it, and we take on the Democratic nominee together, because that's what we can do. Thank you so much.